We begin on a quiet summer evening in 1976. The cicadas hum, the air smells faintly of freshly cut grass, and somewhere down the street, the soft jingle of the ice cream truck is getting closer. You're sitting on the front porch steps, knees scraped from a day of riding your banana seat bike, watching the light fade over a neighborhood where everyone knows everyone. In the distance, the neighbor's black and white TV flickers through an open window, and a whiff of charcoal from a backyard grill drifts through the air. That was the 1970s, a time of simpler pleasures, everyday adventures, and a million tiny details that are easy to forget but impossible to truly lose. In this journey, we'll step through 100 little treasures of daily life from that decade, things you touched, tasted, heard, and felt, each one a thread in the fabric of growing up in 1970s America. From the cereal box toys you couldn't wait to dig out to the Saturday morning cartoons that glued you to the floor in front of the TV. From the gas station giveaways your dad proudly collected to the crackle of a 45 record on a cheap turntable, every memory will take you right back. This isn't just about nostalgia, it's about remembering who we were, how we lived, and why these moments still matter. The wood-paneled basement. The unmistakable look of the downstairs rec room. Dark wood paneling, shag carpeting, and that faint musty smell from the dehumidifier humming in the corner. A TV with rabbit ears sat on a rolling cart, and maybe a bar area where your parents kept those avocado-green tumblers. It felt like its own world, cooler in the summer, warm and cozy in the winter. These rooms hosted everything from family movie nights with Jiffy Pop to marathon Monopoly games. The wood paneling soaked up laughter and arguments alike, making it a true family landmark. It wasn't perfect, you might get a splinter if you leaned wrong, but it was home. Phone with the long cord. The kitchen phone was mounted to the wall, usually avocado green or mustard yellow, with a cord long enough to stretch halfway across the room. You'd twist it around your fingers while talking to friends, stretching it dangerously tight until it curled in knots. Parents would stand nearby, pretending not to listen. Sometimes you'd drag it down the hall for privacy, a relative term in a house where everyone knew your business. The ring was loud and startling, the kind of sound that could pull you from a deep sleep or drown out the TV. And when it was busy, that was it. No call waiting, just a busy signal. Sears Wish Book. Arriving every fall, this thick catalog was a treasure chest of dreams. The toy section alone could keep you occupied for hours, circling what you wanted with a red pen, even if you knew you'd only get one or two. Parents flipped to the appliance section, while you got lost in pages of Barbie houses, slot car tracks, and Star Wars action figures. The smell of the fresh ink and glossy pages was unforgettable. You'd lie on your stomach on the shag carpet, elbows planted, flipping slowly through the possibilities of Christmas morning.
TV dials and antennas. Before remotes, changing the channel meant physically getting up and turning a heavy dial with a solid clunk. UHF and VHF settings required fiddling with rabbit ears, sometimes wrapping them in foil for a better signal. Kids learned to stand in just the right spot so the picture wouldn't flicker. Saturday nights might mean The Love Boat or Chips, depending on whose turn it was to pick. That warm, static buzz when you turned the set off felt oddly satisfying, and the smell of heated electronics lingered in the air. Metal ice trays. With their lever handle, these were both fascinating and frustrating. You'd fill the heavy tray with water, slide it into the freezer, and hours later pull the lever up to release perfectly square ice cubes, if you were lucky. Often the cubes clung stubbornly, and your fingers stuck to the frozen metal. The satisfying crack of the cubes breaking loose was a kitchen soundtrack. No automatic ice makers, no crushed ice, just these little frosty bricks, perfect for a tall glass of Kool-Aid on a summer afternoon. Avocado-green appliances. Kitchens in the 70s often glowed with shades of avocado green, refrigerators, stoves, and even mixers. It was the color of the future back then, paired with harvest gold or burnt orange. The fridge hummed in the background while the Formica countertops shone under the overhead light. The smell of percolating coffee or pot roast often filled the air. These appliances were heavy, built to last, and seemed like permanent fixtures in family life. Even now, spotting one in an old photograph feels like stepping into a time capsule. Rotary light switch dimmers. Many living rooms had a round dial on the wall instead of a flip switch. You'd twist it slowly and watch the lights fade, perfect for mood lighting when company came over. There was a slight click when it turned off completely, and sometimes a faint electrical hum when set just right. For a kid, it felt like controlling the sun in your own home, dimming the lights to make the TV glow brighter, or cranking them up for board game night. Plastic couch covers. Some families covered their sofas in clear plastic to protect them, making sitting an adventure. In summer, your legs would stick instantly, and the squeak when you shifted could interrupt conversation. But the fabric underneath stayed brand new for years. Parents saw it as practical, kids saw it as mildly uncomfortable, but somehow it became part of the living room's identity, along with the bowl of fake fruit on the coffee table.
Shag carpeting. Deep, colorful shag rugs in oranges, browns, or greens softened every step. You could lose a Lego in there for weeks. Vacuuming it took muscle, and sometimes you'd rake it to fluff the fibers. It added warmth to a room, and lying on it while watching TV felt like sinking into a soft sea. Even the smell, a mix of carpet cleaner and family life, is unforgettable for those who grew up with it. Sliding glass doors. Opening the back of the house to the yard often meant sliding a heavy glass door along its track. The metal handle was cool in the morning, and in winter you could see frost at the edges. On summer days, the screen door let in breezes while keeping bugs out. The sh-thunk sound when closing it was part of the soundtrack of family barbecues and kids running in and out. Banana seat bicycles. Long, cushioned seats in bright colors, often with tall sissy bars and high handlebars, made these bikes the kings of the street. You could fit a friend on the back and maybe add streamers to the grips for flair. Riding down the block with the wind in your hair, no helmets then, was freedom itself. The click of baseball cards in your spokes made you feel like a daredevil. Slip and slide. A simple yellow plastic sheet connected to a garden hose could turn any yard into an afternoon of fun. The cold spray hit your skin as you ran. Then you'd launch yourself down the slippery runway, hoping not to hit a dry patch. The smell of wet grass, the squeals of friends, and the occasional bruise were all part of the deal. Big wheels. Low to the ground and nearly indestructible, big wheels gave you the thrill of speed and the satisfying rumble of plastic wheels on pavement. Skidding out at the end of the driveway felt like being a stunt driver. The bright colors faded under the sun, but your excitement never did. Easy Bake Oven. This pastel plastic appliance used a light bulb to bake tiny cakes. The smell of warm cake mix drifted through the room as you peeked through the little door. Waiting felt endless, but the first bite, even if undercooked, was a victory. Viewmaster reels. Holding the chunky red viewer to your eyes and clicking through 3D images was like taking a private trip. Each reel offered vivid scenes, national parks, cartoons, movie stills. The click and slide of each new frame made the world feel magical, one image at a time. Tang in the orange canister. Before energy drinks, there was Tang, the powdered orange drink famously connected to NASA astronauts. The bright, sweet smell hit you as soon as you twisted open the plastic lid. You'd scoop the sugary powder into a glass, watch it swirl and fizz in water, and drink what felt like the future in a cup. In the 70s, Tang wasn't just a drink, it was a statement that your family embraced space-age living, even if you were just sitting at the kitchen table in your pajamas. Kool-Aid pitchers. Summertime meant a plastic pitcher filled with brightly colored Kool-Aid in flavors like tropical punch or grape. The powder puffed up in a little cloud as you poured it in, and stirring with a long spoon made the kitchen smell like candy. The sugar made your lips sticky, and the flavor stained your tongue, a badge of summer fun. Swanson TV dinners. Pulling the silver foil off a steaming TV dinner felt exciting. The divided compartments held Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes, and maybe a brownie in its own slot. They were eaten on folding TV trays while watching The $6 Million Man or Happy Days. The smell of gravy and the sizzle when you pierced the foil made it a real event. Fudgesicles and creamsicles. Opening the freezer on a hot day to find a box of popsicle treats felt like a win. Fudgesicles were creamy, chocolatey, and left your fingers sticky. Creamsicles had that perfect orange shell with vanilla ice cream inside, a flavor combo that instantly cooled you down. Unwrapping the paper made the frozen scent hit you first. Jiffy Pop popcorn. A silver dome ballooning on the stove was a small kitchen spectacle. You'd shake the handle as the kernels popped inside, the smell of butter filling the air. When it was ready, peeling back the foil released a cloud of steam and the warm, salty scent of fresh popcorn, perfect for a family movie night. Space food sticks. These chewy, rectangular snacks were marketed as astronaut food, a futuristic treat in flavors like chocolate and peanut butter. They had a dense, almost taffy-like texture and came in foil wrappers that made you feel like you were eating something top secret. Hubba Bubba gum. Soft and pink, Hubba Bubba was the bubble gum that promised no stick and delivered. You could blow huge bubbles without fear of them popping and sticking to your face. The sugary, fruity scent hit the air as soon as you unwrapped it, and chewing it felt like a little rebellion in class. Chocodiles and Twinkies. Twinkies were a lunchbox classic, light sponge cake with creamy filling, but Chocodiles, the chocolate-covered version, were pure decadence. They were rare enough to be special, and unwrapping one made you feel like you'd found buried treasure.
Pixie sticks. Paper straws filled with flavored sugar? That's it. You'd rip off the end and pour the brightly colored crystals straight into your mouth. It was pure, unfiltered sweetness that made your tongue tingle and your parents shake their heads. Charleston Chews. These long, chewy nougat bars came in chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla flavors. Best trick? Freeze them, then whack them on the counter so they'd break into bite-sized pieces. The cold, crunchy texture was as satisfying as the taste. Film strip projectors. When the teacher rolled in the squeaky AV cart, it was film strip time. The faint hum of the projector and the occasional ding told you to advance to the next frame. Sometimes the teacher would forget to turn the knob, and the narrator's voice would keep going while the same picture stayed on screen. The darkened classroom felt cozy, and the smell of warm dust from the projector's lamp filled the air. Trapper keepers. These binders with Velcro flaps and bold, colorful designs were the ultimate organization tool and a status symbol. Opening that Velcro with a loud rip in class was oddly satisfying. Inside were folders, loose-leaf paper, and maybe secret notes from friends. Pencil cases with sliding lids. Usually made of hard plastic, they had compartments for pencils, erasers, and maybe a hidden sharpener. The satisfying click of the sliding lid opening was part of the school day soundtrack. Some had bright cartoon designs, while others were plain but trusty. Overhead projectors. Before PowerPoint, teachers used overhead projectors, big boxes with a bright light that cast transparent sheets onto a pull-down screen. You could watch the teacher's hand move across the glass as they wrote, the ink squeaking slightly. Smelly markers. The set of scented markers in colors like grape, cherry, and cinnamon were both an art supply and a temptation. Kids would uncap them just to smell, and the scent was so strong it lingered in the air long after class. Loose-leaf reinforcement stickers. These little white stickers kept torn notebook pages from slipping out. They came in sheets, and peeling them off was oddly satisfying. Sometimes you'd double them up for extra strength. Book Fair Day. When the Scholastic Book Fair rolled into school, it transformed the library into a wonderland. The smell of new books, the glossy covers, the little racks of posters and bookmarks, it was a chance to take home something entirely yours.
Library card pockets. Every school library book had a card in a little pocket inside the cover, stamped with due dates. The soft thunk of the stamp and the smell of old paper are memories you can't forget. Cursive practice sheets. Rows of flowing letters printed in faint blue on lined paper guided your penmanship practice. The scratch of the pencil, the focus on perfect loops, and the ink smudges if you were left-handed. Teacher's chalkboard eraser cleaner. A big vacuum-like machine in the teacher's room could clean chalk dust from erasers. You'd hear it roar and watch the white cloud vanish, leaving the eraser looking almost new. Saturday morning cartoons. In the 70s, Saturday mornings were sacred. You'd wake up early, pour a bowl of sugary cereal, and plop in front of the TV for hours of Scooby-Doo, the Jetsons, Super Friends, and Fat Albert. The bright colors, the catchy theme songs, and the comfort of knowing your friends were probably doing the same thing made it a shared ritual. Drive-in theaters. Piling into the family station wagon, wearing pajamas, and watching movies under the stars was pure magic. The metal speaker hung on your window, and the smell of popcorn mixed with fresh night air. Fireflies blinked while the screen lit up the lot. Donnie and Marie Show. Variety shows were prime-time entertainment, and Donnie and Marie's brother-sister banter, sparkly costumes, and musical numbers made this one unforgettable. Families would gather around, singing along or laughing at the skits. 8-track tapes. Big, clunky cartridges that clicked loudly when changing tracks, 8 tracks lived in glove compartments in living rooms. The warm, slightly muffled sound of music through them was the soundtrack of countless road trips. Record player crackle. Dropping the needle onto a vinyl record came with a satisfying pop and faint crackle before the music began. Album covers were works of art themselves, often studied while the music played. Kung Fu TV craze. The 1970s saw a surge in martial arts fascination thanks to shows like Kung Fu and Bruce Lee movies. Kids practiced high kicks in the yard, and nunchucks made from broom handles were a common sight. Charlie's Angels posters. Farrah Fawcett's iconic poster hung in bedrooms across America. The feathered hair, the smile, the red swimsuit. It was a cultural phenomenon, as recognizable as the show itself.
The Gong Show. A wild talent show where contestants might be brilliant or hilariously bad, all under the watchful eye of a giant gong. Its chaotic, unpredictable nature made it perfect family viewing. Roller disco nights. Under mirrored disco balls, skating rinks pulsed with music from the Bee Gees and Donna Summer. The smell of popcorn and the sound of rolling wheels created a lively, electric atmosphere. Muppet Show magic. Jim Henson's The Muppet Show brought clever humor, celebrity guests, and unforgettable characters into homes. The opening theme alone could trigger a wave of warm nostalgia. Woolworth's Five and Dime. Walking into Woolworth's was like stepping into a little universe. The smell of fresh popcorn mixed with floor cleaner, aisles filled with everything from candy to sewing notions. The creak of wooden floors and the hum of fluorescent lights made it a cozy shopping experience. You could buy a toy for under $1 or sit at the lunch counter for a grilled cheese and a Coke. S&H green stamps. Filling up your little stamp books was a family project. Each grocery trip or gas fill-up earned stamps, and licking them into the pages was oddly satisfying. When you had enough, you'd flip through the catalog, circling what you wanted to buy for free. Gas station giveaways. Fill up the tank and you might get a free glass, plate, or toy. Many families built entire dish sets from these promotions. The smell of gasoline and the ding-ding of the station bell are forever tied to these memories. Shopping mall fountains. The new indoor malls often had big central fountains, sometimes with colored lights. People tossed in pennies, making wishes, while the steady splash echoed through the open atrium. Kids loved leaning over the rail to watch coins glitter in the water. Sears appliance section. Sears was more than a store. It was a place to test out the future. You could open fridge doors, press washing machine buttons, or sit in recliners while your parents talked to the salesman. The smell of new plastic and polished metal filled the air. Kresge's snack counter. Kresge's was another department store where the snack counter offered hot dogs, milkshakes, and sundaes. The sound of sizzling grills and clinking silverware made shopping trips a little sweeter. Plastic shopping bags with store logos. Bright, bold store names printed on crinkly plastic bags were everywhere. From JCPenney to Montgomery Ward, the rustle of the bag and the excitement of carrying something new home made them part of the shopping ritual. Price tag guns. Before barcode scanners, clerks used tag guns to click little paper price tags onto items. The pop-pop sound of the gun and the smell of paper and ink became part of the store atmosphere.
Layaway counters. If you couldn't afford something all at once, you could put it on layaway. The items stored in the back until you made all the payments. Picking it up months later felt like Christmas morning. Wool suits on mannequins. Department stores displayed mannequins in thick wool suits or polyester leisure wear. The stiff poses, glossy hair, and slightly eerie smiles made them part of the visual landscape of shopping in the 70s. Streetlight curfew. Kids knew the unspoken rule. When the streetlights flickered on, it was time to head home. That golden glow signaled the end of a day of bike riding, stickball, or hide and seek. The cool evening air carried the smell of dinners cooking, and you could hear parents calling names from porches. Kick the can. A tin can, a group of kids, and the whole street as your playing field. The metallic clang when the can got kicked echoed down the block. Barefoot sprints across warm asphalt, hiding behind trees, and the thrill of a daring rescue kept the game alive for hours. Sprinkler runs. On hot days, someone would drag the garden sprinkler into the front yard. You'd run through the cold spray, squealing as water droplets glittered in the sun. The grass turned slick, and the air smelled like wet earth and summer freedom. Hopscotch on the driveway. Chalk outlines on the driveway faded after a few days, but for a while they were the center of your world. Tossing a stone onto the numbered squares and hopping without touching the lines was both skill and ritual. Neighborhood lemonade stands. A card table, a hand-painted sign, and a pitcher of warm lemonade. It was a childhood business venture. Neighbors dropped coins into a jar, and you felt like a real entrepreneur, even if you only made enough for a popsicle later. Wiffle ball in the yard. The hollow plastic ball made a distinctive whiff when hit. Games in the yard often had homemade bases, and the rules changed depending on who was playing. The lightweight ball meant fewer broken windows, usually. Tree swings. A thick rope tied to a sturdy branch created endless entertainment. You could swing high enough to feel your stomach drop or twist around until you were dizzy. The creak of the branch and the smell of rope fibers in your hands are unforgettable. Sidewalk chalk art. Entire driveways became canvases for colorful chalk creations. Flowers, hopscotch grids, and pretend store signs decorated the neighborhood until the next rainstorm washed them away. Neighborhood ice cream truck. The faint jingle in the distance sparked a mad dash for change. Standing in line, smelling the diesel engine, and choosing between bomb pops, drumsticks, or push-ups was an event that made the whole block happy. Roller skating on the street. Strapping metal skates onto sneakers with a key, you'd wobble down the block. The clack of wheels on sidewalk cracks and the occasional wipeout were all part of the fun. Halloween plastic costumes. Store-bought costumes came in a thin cardboard box with a clear plastic window. Inside was a crinkly vinyl jumpsuit and a stiff plastic mask with a tiny slit for the mouth. The elastic band always pulled your hair, and the mask fogged up with every breath, but you felt unstoppable as your favorite cartoon or TV character. Carving pumpkins with kitchen knives. No fancy carving kits, just a big kitchen knife, a spoon, and a newspaper spread on the table. The smell of fresh pumpkin guts filled the room as you scooped seeds into a bowl for roasting. The candle inside made your creation glow warmly on chilly October nights. Thanksgiving parades on TV. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade was a tradition. You'd sit cross-legged on the shag carpet, watching giant balloons float past cheering crowds while the smell of turkey drifted from the kitchen. Homemade Christmas ornaments. Egg cartons, glitter, popsicle sticks, anything could become a Christmas ornament in the 70s. Each one told a story, and pulling them from storage every year felt like greeting old friends. Silver tinsel trees. Shiny aluminum trees were futuristic and festive. Sometimes lit with a rotating color wheel, they shimmered in shifting hues. They made the whole living room sparkle with holiday cheer. holiday TV specials. From Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer to A Charlie Brown Christmas, the annual holiday specials were can't-miss events. You planned your evening around them because there was no re-watching later. Firecracker Fourths. Before strict fireworks laws, the 4th of July meant Roman candles, sparklers, and small firecrackers in driveways. The smell of gunpowder lingered in the summer air. Easter egg dye kits. The vinegar smell filled the kitchen as you dunked hard-boiled eggs into little cups of colored water. The cardboard drying rack held them until they were ready for the hunt. School Valentine exchanges. A decorated shoebox on your desk and a pile of store-bought Valentines made the classroom feel festive. Candy hearts with little messages were the best prize of the day. Birthday parties at McDonald's. A room with bright benches, paper hats, and a cake topped with plastic McDonaldland characters. The smell of fries and the thrill of a special meal out made birthdays unforgettable. And there we have it, 100 little windows back into the 1970s. Each one a fragment of the lives we lived, the people we loved, and the world we thought would last forever. Some of these moments might feel small. The click of a TV dial, the smell of a fresh Sears catalog, the way the street light told us it was time to go home. But together, they formed the heartbeat of a generation. Back then, life wasn't perfect. It never is. But it had a rhythm we could count on. We measured time in school days and summers, in the space between Saturday morning cartoons and the ice cream truck's arrival. We knew our neighbors, we shared more than just fences, and the pace of life left room for wonder. Technology has moved forward, cities have grown taller, and the world spins faster now. But the best parts of growing up in the 70s aren't gone. They're tucked away in our memories, ready to surface whenever we smell freshly cut grass, hear a song on vinyl, or see a childhood toy in an antique store. Those little sparks remind us of who we were, and maybe who we still are underneath it all. So maybe the real magic of the 1970s isn't in the things themselves, but in the way they made us feel, connected, curious, and content with life's simple pleasures. The laughter of friends in the summer night air, the creak of a porch swing, the excitement of a trip to the store with a few coins in your pocket. Those aren't just old memories. They're proof that joy can be found anywhere if we slow down long enough to notice it. And as we close this trip down memory lane, maybe the next time you find yourself telling a story from your own childhood, you'll remember that what you're sharing isn't just the past. It's a gift, a thread in the tapestry of all our lives. Because some things, no matter how much time passes, are simply unforgettable.